New year, new Nick Caley. I don't know if everyone's buying that. The grumpy old man of the defense, plus CJ Stroud, D'Amico Ryans address the mindset. New year, new us. Let's go. Actually, same us. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time.
It is a new year. Is it a new Nick Caley? We'll hear from Nick Caley. I'll let you decide yourself whether or not you think Nick Caley sounds like a new man. We'll also hear from Frank Ross, the giddy Frank Ross on the sidelines, and we'll talk about the grumpy old man of the defense as well as the mindset of the team. It is the Locker Room. Happy New Year to all. I know a lot of you might still be battling hangovers. Some of you might have gone hair on the dog, and you're still celebrating. Either way, appreciate you for rolling through. Hope you continue this New Year celebration tomorrow at Spanky's, our home. We're going to be there the next 2 Fridays. The next 2 Fridays, we will be at Spanky's tomorrow. We hope to see you there, and we'll also be there the 9th to get the playoffs started.
Playoffs?
Yes, the playoffs. It's going to happen. So we got you. We got hold you down out there at Spanky's. Homemade sauces, homemade dough, best bar food in the game, and the best happy hour in town. So we look forward to seeing you there. Those gatherings are always a good time. Let's talk about Nick Caley. Nick Caley. I don't think there's like a lot of overly optimistic people when it comes to Nick Caley, but he does have an opportunity. And regardless of what we've said about Nick Caley up to this point, there is an opportunity for Nick Caley to flip the switch. Now, I don't think that he believes in flipping the switch. I asked him about that today, but the reality is he has the opportunity to do that. And it's not like you're expecting him to go score 30 points a game, his offense to score 30 points a game. So I want to do what I often like to do. And I'll be honest with you, spoiler alert, the Colts game is the Colts. I don't have like an in-depth breakdown of the Colts game. I don't even know who they're going to play. They're going to play Riley Leonard. Awesome. Texans should win this game. They should handle their business. If they don't, then we'll be talking about the playoffs, but the vibes probably won't be that high up. I don't even know that Indianapolis necessarily wants to win this game. But I want to sit back with you, listen to old Nick, and react to what he said. And I want to open our minds right now. Whatever it takes for you to open your mind, I want to open our minds and think about if Nick Caley could perhaps flip the switch and be a better version of himself. Could he make old Nick Caserio look smart for bringing in his guy? Let's hear from old Nick Caley and what he had to say today. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the video. We're trailing Pops today. My dad's way better at Sleeper than I. So the trail pick is going to be my dad's pick for the game. Tune in for that. You got a chance to win $100 on Sleeper. If you haven't tried Sleeper yet, download the Sleeper app, put any amount of money in, use the promo code LOCKER, and you're going to get double that up to $100. We'll get into the details. We'll talk about trailing Pops picks in a sec, but let's hear from old Nick.
When it comes to the offense and trying to kind of hit the playoffs at good, consistent performance level. What are some things in the final week of the season that you hope to get done?
I want to play consistently, go out and start fast would be ideal, and go out and execute. No differently than we talked about week one. We expect to be better and better at this time of the year, so that's what we're trying to do is play our best football in the last week of the season.
That's some salad right there. Is that a Caesar salad? Do you prefer Caesar salad or do you prefer a house salad? And what kind of dressing could I interest you in? Would you like some Italian? Would you like some ranch? Would you like some Thousand Island? perhaps? Or could I interest you in a vinaigrette dressing? Little word salad. Same. New year, same Nick there.
Believe in
This is
the
me
theory
asking,
of,
this is me asking about flipping the switch.
I know you don't want to coach it and depend on it, but do you believe in like players, coaches flipping the switch this time of the year, or some guys elevate their play?
I mean, I really don't. I think, with finality, there is, I would say, more focus in general when you look at, like, just in terms of, we have a finite amount of games. And so I think the best teams that have, at least I've had an opportunity to be a part of, you have a hard focus and you try to have a consistent process. So that's what we preach here, is just try to continue to have a process, practice cleaner, practice with better urgency, cleaner, better execution, and ultimately lead to success on the field, or more success on the field. And I feel we've experienced that throughout the year. Not where we want to be necessarily right now, still a lot of room for improvement, but I don't believe that you can just turn it on. I think the league's too hard. I think there's too good of players, too good of coaches to just say, well, it's week 18 and I'm going to flip the switch. I think, I haven't seen that really, I haven't been a part of that really wherever I've been. And I think that, the most consistent discipline routine and just trying to improve throughout the year, that's what I've seen and what I believe,
All right, so obviously a coach is not going to say that they believe in flipping the switch, but I mean it's a fact that we often see players, coaches do their best work in the playoffs. Now you can't depend on it; you can hope for it. A lot of guys wet the bed in the playoffs. I mean, and that's another possibility. I'm trying to be positive here, but that's another possibility that maybe Nick Caley just wets the bed in the playoffs. I think he's done that in primetime games. I think primetime games, we've kind of seen some of the nerves kick in with Nick Caley. So that's a little bit of a possibility. But obviously the coach is not going to coach that. On the chat, let's go to the chat here. And hope you'll join us at Spanky's tomorrow. Myself and Cody Stoots, SNL, live on YouTube every day at 4. Couple things here that I want to kind of touch on.
Swarm.
Roll 16171. Shout out to you, my friend. I'm assuming you're talking about that
high-grade marijuana called Kush on the
He
streets.
said, did Joe Mixon shoot himself in the foot? I have actually, I'll talk about what the Joe Mixon thing, now that we have like a clearer thing about it. I'll talk about it somewhere towards the end of the show. Don't let me forget. We've talked about it throughout the season, just how weird it is and how weird they've been about it. But I kind of got a little bit of, I got a little bit of a kind of like a grasp of what I think happened. And we'll talk about it. It's just an opinion.
gives you the best amount of, best chances for success.
Default element that you guys showed last
Mm-hmm.
week. Is it something that you've been trying to set up for a while to be able to go vertical with the way CJ can throw?
Hey, bro.
Deep.
Yeah, I think it's when there's opportunities that present themselves. I mean, we have some called plays that will do that. Obviously, we always try to have some of those in our game plan. And CJ does a fantastic job. He throws a great deep ball. So never doubted that for a second. I mean, we see that out on the practice field. It was great to have an opportunity to go out there and get a chance early in the game to put a couple up. And credit to him and our players of going out and executing.
What are some of the things that you think that you can do as an offense to prevent what the Chargers did last week as far as bringing so many people into the box, coming with the simulated pressure, bringing some pressure, like they try to do the same type of blueprint that Kansas City did in that third quarter? As an offense, how can you all adjust to that? Yeah,
I think, everybody's got a game plan. Everybody, and you practice issues that come up and you try to improve on some of those certain things. So there's a multitude of things. I mean, you can, each game plan's a little different, okay, depending on situational football. And you want to be able to clean up some mistakes, but then ultimately,
hopefully each game plan is different.
you want to be able to, you want to be able to go out and there's certainly things that in hindsight, want that call back, wish we could execute a little bit better here, et cetera, communicate a little better here. So cleaning all those things up. And to me, it all starts with really communication. It's, from me to the players to each other, and going out and being able to play one play at a time and, present challenges. Challenges are presented every single game in this league. Every week's a challenge. So being able to go and be at our best, see the game the same way, all 11, through the coaching staff to all 11 on the field, and go out and execute cleanly. And I think, credit to Jesse Minner and those guys last week too. They did a great job. They're a great staff, and we got to be ready to go this week.
All right, so I'll say that's a salad with like extra dressing, and not necessarily a protein. Like there's no chicken on that salad or anything like that. But that's kind of like a salad with extra dressing. Little word salad from Nick.
Yesterday that that the Chargers game was one of the best games he thinks that he's played as far as being able to do the check downs and throw the ball away, or maybe take a sack, or just making sure that he didn't do anything to too much disrupt the game. As an offensive coordinator, when you hear that, do you see that exact same thing too, as far as because on the outside looking in, it doesn't look as if it isn't as explosive or it isn't as great as some people would think.
Yeah,
I agree with Sarge on this question. When you hear CJ say that, and we'll just play what CJ said just for context here. I'll take Nick off the stage for a sec. So, take a seat for a second, Nick. But this is the quote that he's talking about with CJ Stroud, and I think it's a little bit weird to hear myself that CJ said this, and we'll hear Nick Caley's explanation of it and reaction to it.
Process has to be right. I think as I've gone, I think this past game is probably my best game process-wise of, getting us in the right checks, the right calls, and, motion timing, cadence, everything. So I just want to build on that. And I think around, we have some things that we need to clean up that we know. But, yeah, I think, we're peaking at the right time. We're starting to click at the right time. So, we got to just keep that going. I think this would be another opportunity to do that.
See, I have no idea. Nick Caley was in the room. It just, when you hear that was the best, it didn't seem like overly organized from the outside looking in, which I think is what Sarge is saying. The other thing is like motion timing and stuff. I thought there was one play where it looked like perhaps Cade was a little late on the motion, and I think Woody Marks damn near lost his neck when Khalil Mack depleted him. But I kind of roll my eyes when I hear that. I'm not in the film room. I think this is a good question. Looking forward to hearing what old Nick has to say about it.
Nick. He's been very consistent, and he's taking care of the ball, and he's just, regardless of whether it's a check down or going through his progressions or, getting into the right premium look based on our alert system on check plays, he's been consistent, and gotten better throughout the year, and he's been very disciplined with that. So I've been proud of him for how he's played. I mean, he's, knock on wood, he's taking good care of the ball the entire year. I mean,
he just threw 2.5 picks.
And we gotta just continue to do that, and continue to.
I don't disagree. But there were 2 picks the last game.
Go through the process, but he's been clean on that. He practices that way, and I've been very proud of the way he's just continued to progress, and he owns it. Yeah, go ahead.
It seems like guys like Jaden Higgins, Woody, and Jalen Noel to some degree have finally got their bearings in this offense. What is it took for them to get to that point, to where they have gotten to, where it looks like they look a lot more comfortable?
Yeah, I think it comes with repetition. It comes with experience going out there and playing, which they all have in varying degrees throughout the year. And it's the end of the year, so like they're not rookies anymore. They've been here quite a bit since the spring. So very encouraged with that group overall, and they've done a good job. We got a next man up mentality across the board, but in terms of those guys fitting in, I think they fit in very well, and they've all got versatility. You look at Higgs. You look at Jay Noel just in the receiver room. Those guys play. They can switch multiple positions. They have throughout the year. Whether it's been Woody, et cetera, being able to do some different things protection-wise on third down and growing him throughout the year. I've been very pleased with their development. I think it's just a matter of going out and playing. You get opportunities to go play the game. That's how you go out and you improve on those things.
Talking about
the thing that I wonder if we are going to talk about perhaps like a switch flipping, I wonder if there is like some sort of maxed use of Jalen Noel in the offense once the playoffs come around. I wonder if we finally get to see that. If when push comes to shove, he's more of a part of the game plan. I think that there's maybe a little bit of hope there for that. Now, do you trust Nick? Let you decide.
switching positions. Have you worked with the offensive lineman as versatile as Titus Howard, and what does his ability to change positions do for your offense?
Well, I mean, it's a great value. The more you can do, I mean, the more value you have. And I would say Titus has done. He's smart. He's hardworking. He's a good teammate. He's got a lot of experience, and so that helps us. And he, whether it's playing tackle, playing guard, right side, left side. I mean, he answers the bell, and I'm thankful for that. We're all thankful for that, and I think his best football is still out in front of him.
The team has talked about him switching the positions without any hesitancy or anything. Just had him lead by example. Just what does that do for the buy-in of the offensive line?
Well, I think that's we have a whole group of guys that care about the team, and he's completely unselfish. And I appreciate that, and we appreciate that, and I think he wants to win. And so got a locker room full of guys that put egos aside, and they care about winning, and he's just a really good example of that, and I've been really pleased with how he's progressed throughout the year, too.
What's it like? Go ahead, Kim.
Nick, the job that Blake Fisher did last week at
Yep.
his first start of the season, can you talk about that a little bit? And one of the things I asked him was when he kept going in those jumbo packages, if that helped his development, and he said yes.
Yeah, no, I thought he did a nice job. I really did. Very, very, I would say, even-keeled throughout the game, very steady, very consistent. Thought he did a good job in pass protection, staying inside out. Popovich has done a really, really nice job bringing him along and just continuing to pour into him. And relative to the tight end position and playing some of the jumbo, I think it just gives him, again, so just like Jonathan had asked, I think it's more opportunities and more at-bats to go out there and play and hone in on your fundamentals and play different edge players. And, that helped us. You talk about unselfish. Like, that helped us early in the season, out of necessity, first and foremost. But he got, he's probably stole 150, 200 reps, however you look at it in the ballpark. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but considerable amount. And he's out there playing. And so I think anytime you get a chance to do that, you get a chance to compete, you get a chance to go back and review and clean it up, and you can obviously chart your course to improve moving forward.
Aziz talked about his interception, and he said, yeah, it goes in the stats as an interception, but I actually got beat on the play, and it's not something that you look at in tape and you're proud of. From like a coaching perspective, when it comes to calling plays, how much of a part is maybe going beyond the results of how you're calling plays and how you evaluate how well you did play?
Yeah, I mean, every single game.
I want to know the gray area of this with Nick Caley, just kind of see how he approaches it.
We go into Landry every time we come out of it. I talking personally, my assessment of myself, is that what you're asking? Just so, yeah, I look at everything. What would I have done differently? Where could I be better at? I always try to do that. I mean, I start with myself first and foremost, and I think it's no different than we talk about the players about improving and growing. I'm my hardest critic, and I want to do right for this team. I want to do right for every person that's in this building. So we start, and what calls, what we did well, what didn't we do well, what can I do better? How can I do it better? And start addressing those things and try to learn from every situation that you go through. That's what I try to do.
How long does it take you to start becoming your harshest critic, like when watching the tape right after a game? Do you at least give it a night? Are you watching the tape right when you get back? Is it on the plane?
It depends on what time the game is. I mean, if you're talking noon kickoff here, I'll usually go home and be with my family. And when my kids go to bed, I put the tape on and start going on the road games, watch it on the plane on the way back, and try to get ahead of that as much as I possibly can. And then, you have a great collaboration with our staff. We have a really good staff, really humble guys that care, and we all try to put our heads together to arrive at what's best for our team.
Oh, go ahead. You go first.
Coach, how beneficial is it to have, from your perspective, to have a running back room that has not just game time experience, but starting experience, where all the guys are starting to come around really healthy now, especially
Starting experience. Chubb, Marks has started, 7 games? I don't think Jawar started. I don't know how many games Dari started.
late in the season?
Yeah, I think it's very beneficial, and I think it's a testament to those guys. We've been able to get off 30+ attempt games in the run game, a decent amount now down the stretch, the back half of the season, I feel like. So anytime you can establish the run, you give yourself a chance. You don't want to be one-dimensional. And I think with those guys, and it's really starting up front with the line and the tight ends, have given us an opportunity to do is have fair fights and establish the line of scrimmage to be competitive in the run game, which, opens up a lot of other opportunities for you offensively. So I've been very pleased with them, and the running backs have certainly a big part of what we do, and they have a big share in that.
Coach, along the same lines of what Landry was talking about, because I know that hindsight can be 20/20.
Yep.
And you said that you're the harshest critic on yourself.
Yep.
How do you move past that? How do you look and see that mistake and say, okay, that was that game. Just move on, flush it out, and move on to the next.
Yeah,
one.
the good thing is you got a quick turnaround every single week, so you don't have a lot of time. You sit there and you learn, and you move forward. And certainly sometimes that could be, whether it's a play call, shoot, in hindsight, I wish I could have done this or that, or a situational call, or you're, okay, this week you come around and, hey, man, we don't have these three guys this week at the game, so that alters maybe a grouping or two groupings or how you want to play a game, and that's what we get paid to do. That's our job, is to come out here and put our players in the best position possible, and we pour a lot into that, so you don't have a lot of time. Usually it's a Sunday to Sunday, Sunday to Saturday turnaround, and those short weeks it's even shorter, Thursday night games and stuff like that, so you got to make a decision. What's best for the team? You got to move forward, and you got to chart that course.
All right, we'll see what it looks like. Nick Caley, been an up and down year, but hey, slate wipe clean. You're where you wanted to be. So we'll see. I don't think there's a ton of trust in Nick Caley, rightfully so. But he's got a chance, and I mean they got some weapons, man. Like, the skill guys can make plays. The offensive line there's still questions. They're getting healthier. Trent Brown back at practice. Do you rest him and let him get ready for the playoffs? That's kind of TBD. I think Ursery eventually plays. He sounds like a guy that's going to play. And then Blake Fisher, I talked to Cody, who talked to Blake, and he said it was easy to read last week. Like, some of these guys have better poker faces than others. Like, D'Amico just goes up to the podium and he's got like a Casario, like, but like Blake Fisher, you can kind of read a little bit in some of the players. Like last week when we talked to Blake Fisher, we said, all right, he's starting. I mean, that's a guy who's starting. And then this week, it sounds like a guy who I guess anticipates going back in his role in the jumbo set. So it's something to keep an eye on. We'll see what Nick Caley looks like. He does have the best RB 1 and 2 duo that he's had to work with all season. The offensive line is going to be healthy, so he has that. And he has rookie wide receivers coming off making plays. How does that look once he has the opportunity to flip the switch, whether he believes in it or not in that term? We'll see. But I don't think there's any scenario where Nick Caley isn't back next year. I don't think there's any scenario where Nick Caley isn't back, which brings me to Z chat. Litzation says, I don't think Nick should be fired. Let him develop, maybe bring in more experienced consultant to help. But I'd rather give him time to grow unless they are locked into a proven guy. See, I don't know what a proven guy is. I always roll my eyes at that notion of a proven guy. I think the best offensive minds, a lot of them already have jobs. Whether it's head coach, whether it's OC, they already have jobs. Like, what would you say is a proven offensive coordinator? Like, what does that mean? Because most of these guys that we're talking about, when it says they need an experienced play caller, it's okay, the guy's obviously available for a reason why. I'll say this again. This is a drinking game, I'm sure, for a lot of the norms. But every offensive coordinator at one point has been a first-time play caller. So, like, I don't know, like, the experience, I don't care. Like, Josh McCown's been my guy. I think Josh McCown is destined to be a good coach. I think he's destined to eventually be a good offensive coordinator. That's me. He doesn't have experience. So I don't really care about the experience. I just think you got to hire the right guy. And it goes back to, like, the argument. I've heard people say, and I forget who it was, but I was arguing with someone in the press box. God, I must argue with a lot of mofos in the press box if I don't remember who I was arguing with on this. But they said something like, Nick Caley's not qualified. And I'm like, what do you mean he's not qualified? He's not. Like, that's always the thing, because if you look at the history of coaches, you look at the history of coordinators, there's really no set way to say this guy's qualified or this guy's not. Anytime someone says, well, he wasn't qualified, I roll my eyes. Like, did you see how quick Sean McVay became a head coach Did you see the fact that Mike Tomlin was a coordinator for 1 year before he got his gig? Have you seen coaches who have like the most experience, traditional experience, go on and suck at being head coaches? So I don't know what qualified means. And I don't value like the experienced play caller as much as a lot do. I think guys are ready to do it. But as far as what Nick Caley's resume was, like, he was the next in line. If he sucks, he sucks. Like, if he's not good, if you don't like the Patriots system, if you don't like the way he functions, and that his offense is too much of a pain in the ass, if you don't like the way that it happens at halftime and how it works, and you don't like that, that's fine if he sucks. But not qualified, I kind of roll my eyes at that. I roll my eyes at that when it comes to the non-traditional forms of qualification. Like, I don't remember what Gerard Johnson got in the NFL very quickly. I mean, he was selling hats. He was doing camps. I think he was at a high school, and then all of a sudden he's in Indianapolis. He hasn't turned back. That's not a traditional path. I know he was always involved in, but as far as like traditional coaching, that's not traditional. D'Amico Ryan's faster path than most. There's probably a lot of guys who've been coordinators for a long time and guys with head coaching experience. D'Amico Ryan's very fast track, fast path. So I kind of roll my eyes when we start talking about, this guy's got to be an experienced coordinator or all that. Either he sucks or he doesn't, because there's no one formula for what an OC is or is not. So we'll see what it looks like with Nick, but I just don't really care about the experience, and I don't know what a consultant is going to do. I'm sure he's got enough guys that he can talk to. So I'm not worried about that. Jay Rich on the chat says, Little Nicky has a chance to redeem himself. Hope he can take some of the offensive questions away before the tournament. These questions ain't going nowhere. They could put up 70 on the Colts. We're still going to have questions about the offense. So these questions ain't going away. I do like calling it the tournament, though. I do like calling it the tournament. That's very Bill Parcells of you. Very Bill Parcells of you. Jesse seems a little bit sad. Jesse says, the TTU loss today was the exact nightmare I have of the Texans in a playoff game against the Ravens. Probably just PTSD from the past. Oh, so getting shut out, getting blanked. So the defense bends, don't breaks. They keep it one possession at half, and then it just kind of gets away from them, and the offense doesn't show any life. I'm not going to dismiss that. I'm not going to dismiss that possibility. I think that's a fair assessment. I am starting to kind of buy into Pittsburgh a little bit. What's wrong with me? I just have like a craving for pajama pants. I don't know why, but I'm kind of buying into to Pittsburgh. Dominic says, Spank Boys this Friday will be legendary. We'll be live at Spanky's. I know you'll be there. We'll see you there as well. Everyone else, hope to see you at Spanky's tomorrow. We'll probably get there too. Practice is at 10:30 manana. So we usually get there a little bit early, but practice is going to be early. It's earlier on Fridays.
We in here talking about practice.
Only absences today, Lassiter and Jamal Hill. Lassiter hasn't practiced Monday through Thursday all week. He needs a break. He needs a break. Give that young man a break, please. Leaning Tower of Panda says, I listen in bed sometimes, and every time the intro plays or you hit that swarm, I cringe because my girls sleep next to me and that shit's so loud. Yeah, it can be a little bit loud. I would imagine. I brought that up the other day. When the girl is so patient listening, sometimes that noise will just hit it, man. Evan, appreciate you for listening, though. Battling with me. Evan says Landry confidence level with this team right now 1 to 10. To do what they haven't done yet, like to win 2 playoff games. Oh God, I think it really depends on a Baltimore game, Sunday Night Football. Which, by the way, I'm going to go live right after that game, and we're going to assess the opponent. So we're going to go live for post, and then we'll get the immediate reaction to what the opponent is. So I'm going to stream twice on Sunday because I didn't stream yesterday. Would have been pointless. We would have just been kind of talking about the same stuff that we're talking about right now. So we're going to do a live stream. Be on the lookout for that. And that's going to be immediately after Sunday Night Football. So since normally we do the end of week localized outlook at the end of Monday Night Football, since the weekend's on Sunday night, we're going to stream there. And then we'll be in full playoff mode on Monday leading up to the Friday gathering at Spanky. So be on the lookout for that. Confidence level for them to win 2 playoff games? A 5 or 6, 5. I'm still not going to, regardless of what Baltimore's been, if you're facing Baltimore and you have to go to Baltimore because of the way that the layout is and the division stuff, yeah, I'm not overly confident that they can go to Baltimore. I'm not dreading it as much as 2 years ago or how much I would have last year, but it's still Baltimore. It's still Lamar Jackson. They're much healthier than when you faced them the last time. So, yeah, that would definitely lower the confidence, and I think there would be a lot of PTSD and hesitation. I'm actually intrigued to know what that line would be. I mean, I think it would be a relatively close line on either end, but a home playoff game at Baltimore, not fun. Not fun. It feels like the worst potential road game of all the playoff teams, really, even maybe the 2 at the top. My confidence level's relatively low there. Trey says, love you, Landry. It's freezing up here in Utah, but I got to get my daily fix of Texans. Thanks for all you do. Dude, thank you. God, what is the weather in Utah right now? Goodness, it hit the 50s earlier this week, and I was freezing. I can't imagine what it's like in Utah. Those cold weather folks, and there's a few of them here, they will definitely mock me when it comes to my hatred for cold weather. All right, let's talk about sleeper. We're tailing Pops. We're not doing any more of my picks. So here is how you can get in on this. First of all, you just trail the community and just trail what my dad's doing. Okay, because he's been winning. You email the screenshot of the pick to hmasleeperpicks@gmail.com. Jimmy actually did it, and he got the $100. So it does actually work. If you haven't played Sleeper yet, you can still join this contest. But if you put $5 in, you use the promo code Locker, you get 10. Put 100 in, you get 200. Up to if you've never played Sleeper, you should. My dad's been dominant. I've been struggling the last couple of weeks. But you can do it in college. You can do it during baseball season, basketball season. Very simple. More than or less than when it comes to props. So here's where my dad is going. I gave him homework, and I said, Pops, I want you to send me your sleeper pick. And this is what he's going with. He's going with Nico Collins touchdown against the Colts. That's probably wise. Maybe it has to be early. But the Colts killer, Nico Collins, he's going with the touchdown. Higher than 0.5, which means a touchdown. He's saying CJ Stroud's longest completion is higher than 33.5 yards. And he's saying Riley Leonard throws an interception, and he's saying Riley Leonard runs for over 14.5 yards. This is pretty good. I can see why he's winning. And this gives you 9-1 odds. So you put 5, you win 45, put 10, you win 90. You can do the rest of the math. Let's trail Pop's Locker with Nico, touchdown, CJ Stroud, 33.5, and then Riley Leonard, INT, and 14.5 yards. All you got to do is go to Sleeper, download the app, play this, and then send the screenshot of it to hmasleeperpicks@gmail.com. There you go. Dad's been dominant on that. I want to talk about the word adversity. And I keep hearing, and there's been like a real force of reflection when it comes to where the Texans currently are, as if it's like some sort of accomplishment. And I really don't understand. Their goal wasn't to get to the playoffs. Their goal is actually like it should actually be glorified less because of what they've established themselves as and what their next goal is. And I think D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud actually share that mindset. But I just kind of roll my eyes when I hear about this path and this adversity and all this type of stuff. I roll my eyes. Here's CJ Stroud talking about the current quote accomplishment and what's ahead.
Yeah, it's an honor. Every chance I get to play in the NFL every day, I cherish walkthroughs to game days to, training camp, everything. It's a privilege and an honor, and I'm super grateful to be, able to play. So, I'm a Texan, so I'm here. I'm going to do what I'm asked, and we're going to play, and I'm excited too. It's a good challenge for us, and in our season the right way.
And he goes on to say that he won't reflect until after the season, which I think is right, and it's also kind of what his head coach is saying.
To be in a position we're in now, and again, the destination isn't the playoffs. We're there, of course. That's the goal every year to get in. But for how we had to do it this year, it is one to be proud of for our guys and the work that they put in.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that you shouldn't be happy that you got in the playoffs. But to me, when I hear the word adversity, I don't think of it as I lean more on the unlucky situation as opposed to a difficult event. And the definition of adversity, it's a difficult or unlucky situation or event. And I don't look at adversity as like a self-inflicted thing. Like when you're talking about someone and you look back at them and you say, man, he really overcame a lot of adversity. Yeah, I mean, there's instances where maybe someone had a problem or maybe someone had some sort of addiction, and I get that. But losing 3 football games and then kind of circling back and getting to where you were expecting to be, I don't look at that as like some sort of adverse situation, something to be proud of. And maybe again, I said this earlier this week, maybe it's just me being blinded because it's being thrown in to the same company as Bill O'Brien. And that was a team that I covered. I actually got yelled at for kind of saying that there were bigger goals here, and you could kind of see some of the flaws, and it didn't travel very well with time to celebrate that when you lose in the first round of the playoffs. So when I think about the adversity that the Texans have overcome, I just don't glorify that 0-3 start as much as many people do. Now, some will say, well, did you think that they had a chance to get in the playoffs? Fortunately for me, everything I say is recorded. Sometimes it's not always fortunate because you're going to be wrong a lot. But when they were 0-3, it was literally, okay, they got to get to 5-5 to have a puncher's chance to get in the playoffs. And at the time, we thought 10 and you'll get in. That wouldn't have got you in this instance. So, but you would have had somewhat of a puncher's chance. Maybe it would get you in. This Colts game would probably be a little bit more valuable, or maybe you would be in as a 7. So the whole like talk about adversity, it's kind of an eye roll for me because that's not an unfortunate situation. That was a self-inflicted win, which I'm just leaning on one side of the definition. But if you look at the playoffs, yes, the Texans right now, they're 11-5. Colts are 8-8. So 10 would have got you in. Like we said 10 and you get in. 10 would have got the Texans in the playoffs. They'd be in the playoffs right now. And they would be looking to maybe get their 11th win and maybe be able to climb above the Chargers or Bills. So we were 100% right when 0-3 went on. We said 5-5 and 10 will get you in more times than not. Only one team that won 10 games didn't make the playoffs last year. So 10 would have got you in. So we didn't. There were a lot of problems with the team, and we talked about it, but there wasn't like some sort of, oh, this team has no chance. Everybody counted them out. No, you were frustrated because they are a 10 to 12 win caliber ball club. And most of us thought that. So I don't look at this as adversity. So when I ask the question, what adversity did the Texans face in 2025? I don't consider the 0-3 start the type of adversity that I think is impressive. I'm not impressed by that. I'm not impressed by that. I'm not impressed that you started out 0-3 and then you did this. It's cool for them to sell it as this team never quit. But I got to see what you do now that you've given yourself the opportunity to do what you set out to do. I really don't care how you got here. This is what we've been waiting for since the end of last year, since they fired Bobby Slowick in January, since they traded Laramie Tunsil. This is what we've been waiting for. We've been waiting for this moment. I don't care how you got here. I don't care if you got lost on the way. This destination is the playoffs. This is where you started. I don't give a shit what route you took. I don't care if you stopped halfway to sightsee. I don't care if you decided to take a detour. I don't care if you got lost. You're here now. So this 0-3, like overcoming, it's just not really the type of adversity that I look at and am as impressed with. And yes, the Bill O'Brien company has a lot to do with that. I will admit that. We've lived this. We weren't digital at the time. I was on the radio talking about King Bill and everything that was going on, but we lived it. We've seen it. This isn't a company you want to be in. You want to be in the same company as Bill O'Brien? Come on. That's not company that I want to celebrate. So maybe if it were like, let's say the freaking Broncos that had done it before, maybe I would look at it differently. But I think, number one, this is where you wanted to be. This is where you expected to be. Number two, I feel like it was self-inflicted the first 3 weeks, not necessarily bad luck. And number three, it's in the same company as Bill O'Brien. So I don't look at it that way. The biggest form of adversity in football is injuries. I think based on the roster that we knew that the Texans would have heading into camp, I think that they've been relatively healthy. Relatively healthy. Every team has some injuries, some more than others that they have to overcome. But heading into the playoffs, this team is relatively healthy. There are certain things you can point to, but they are relatively healthy. I would say that if you're talking about adversity, CJ Stroud going down for 3 games, that's an adverse situation. Your starting quarterback missing 3 games when you're 3-5, that's adversity. That's impressive. Davis Mills doing his thing. Regardless of how he started, that's impressive. I would say that's adversity. I would say the ultimate sign of adversity was the Joe Mixon situation, which is just a weird situation all in itself. One of your most important guys on offense suddenly has this mystery injury. There's multiple reports about what is and isn't going to happen. And it's kind of the worst kept secret, which we all knew that he wasn't going to play. It was kind of obvious at the start of camp. The Texans won't say it. D'Amico acted kind of strange about it. He threw out some weird ass analogies about media types, health and all that, which some meat writers kind of acted like made sense when it really didn't. But I'd say the Joe Mixon situation was a pretty adverse situation, not self-inflicted, weird as hell. Now, my theory on it is I think that something so weird happened off the field that he doesn't want to talk about it, and they're just respecting his wishes not to talk about it. And I think if it were a contractual thing and they wanted to go get the money, I don't know that it would end well for them. But I think this has had as much to do with how Joe Mixon has handled it as they did. But I just think something really weird happened with how he got hurt. Maybe one day we'll get that story. I don't know. I don't know if it becomes less embarrassing or more or what, but I think that's the situation. And I also think that contractually, I think you have to at least, if something wacky happens, this is my opinion, I don't know, But if something wacky happens off the field, I would think that you have to at least put forth the public persona that you're trying to come back. I think there's been a while where we've known he wasn't coming back. Remember when Rappaport said it and Mixon kind of called him out that he would, that, you know, how do you know more about me than me? Hey, agent, say this. We knew he wasn't playing. It didn't make sense for him. It didn't make sense for them. So I think it was just wacky enough and they got that situation. But as far as adversity, I would say those are the things. Starting out 0-3, I don't know. And I could perhaps be getting semantic. There's definitely a change, a chance about that. But the Mixon thing was just really, really strange from the jump. Just really, really strange from the complete jump. Very, 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 very strange. I want to talk about the grumpy old man on the team. And by grumpy, I mean he's just about that action. Derek Barnett. Derek Barnett's an interesting case study because we talk about this young core. We talk about the rookies and all that type of stuff. But the other thing that the Texans have done pretty well, specifically on the defensive side in DeMeco Ryan's system, is if they need to find guys, they find guys. By the way, SNL exclusive interview tomorrow with 38. We're going to talk to your boy number 38 tomorrow. A lot of y'all were saying, who the hell is number 38? We'll let you know tomorrow. We'll lay it out for you and let you know. But we were saying the same thing about Derek Barnett 2 years ago. Who the hell is number 95? Will Anderson missed a game. Derek Barnett stepped up, and he's been here year to year ever since. 2 sacks last game, and he's a man of few words. I asked Matt Burke about Derek Barnett. We'll also hear what Will Anderson had to say about the old man about that action. But I think you can kind of read between the lines, and you can kind of see, or hear, I should say, see and hear. Facial expressions are important in this. What they think about old number 95. Here's Matt Burke.
Derek Barnett in the middle of, or even later in 2023. How would you describe what he brings to the team and just his overall role, even if it's beyond just on the field?
Yeah, probably similar to the rank answer a little bit. Like, obviously, like I had a history with him in Philly, and so a history in this front and the style of play. I think I've said this on record before. Like, Derek's one of the toughest people I've ever been around. Just a hardcore, like tough dude. Played physical last week. Especially, I mean, obviously, just referring to that game, and he doesn't say much. I don't know how much you guys have talked to him. He's a pretty quiet, like kind of like silent killer. Like, I'm not sure what's going on behind the facade there, but like another, like, again, he's played 10 years in the league, whatever it's been, and very intellectual, like has a really good knowledge of the game and what he's doing and how it's approaching and what he needs to do to get it done. So another guy that, like, you know, I think guys like Will or whoever in that room, like, respect in terms of just like when he talks, like, okay, there's some weight, there's some gravitas behind it because of his history, because he's basically played in this front most of his career. So he's just got a vast library of sort of history and techniques and experience to build off of. So doesn't say much, but when he does, I think it carries a lot of weight because the guys have a lot of respect for him. And then just how he plays and how physical and how tough he is, like, I think that just carries that weight too.
He's just about that action. That's what Derek Barnett is. He's about that action. We'll hear what Will Anderson had to say about him in a sec. First, let's talk about something that I love. It's about that action and everything else that comes with it. Texans Turf. Shout out to Texans Turf. Shout out to Dan the Man. If he can't do it, no one can. A lot of these turf companies, they are absolute frauds. I know this because I shopped. I wanted turf really, really bad. 1 guy, 2 guy, 3 guys, 4 guys, 5 guys, slime balls. Slime balls trying to rip you off. They're trying to take advantage of you. You can tell that their staff is not very well equipped. And you can also tell that they're just not about that action. Dan is. And Dan did not try to upsell me. He actually didn't even recommend me the most expensive thing. He looked at my yard and he said what was best for me. and it's been going strong 3 years since. We're creeping up on the 3-year anniversary of me getting Texans turf. A lot of people around town have followed suit. If you want to check out their work, go to texansturf.com, whether it's just a normal house out in the burbs, whether it's a startup, whether it's a mansion out in River Oaks, he's got you covered. Putting greens, playing surfaces, always green, always clean. The turf game it's worth doing if you're going to do it right. And Dan is the only guy that I found that does it right. I was a customer before the partnership with this and SNL, and I'll be a customer for life. Can't recommend it enough. You want the turf, get the turf. He'll work with you. TexansTurf.com. Let's hear what Will Anderson had to say about Derek Barnett. Derek Barnett, I think Derek Barnett, he looks like a guy who probably still gets the newspaper. He looks like a guy who probably still gets the newspaper. He's about that action. He's about that business. And you can just tell he's battling. You can tell it's a battle for him. A lot of times you see some of these guys, like you see the whippersnappers like the Jaden Higgins. Jaden Higgins could probably play 2 football games every Sunday and be fine. But the Derek Barnetts of the world who've been in the league for a decade, who are battling whatever they're battling week to week, and then they just go out there and they just show off that grown man streak. I'll never forget his first practice back. Because we were watching Darrell Taylor. It was like, oh, could Derek Barnett be in trouble? Derek Barnett went out there and he basically treated Ariante Ursary like a damn blocking sled his first practice back. He's got kind of like that OG energy. Look at how Will Anderson smiles when I ask him about Derek Barnett. You just heard Matt Burke talk about him. Here is Will Anderson when I asked him about Derek Barnett.
Derek came in the middle of your rookie season. How would you describe Derek Barnett's role in the D-line?
Dead shot, man. From what's the movie? Suicide Squad. Yeah, Suicide Squad. He's just a silent killer, man. He's got that sniper on him, man. Anytime you put him on the field, man, he's gonna make a big play, and that's what Derek is about, man. He's a dog, and that's why I always say, man. We talk about alphas. We have alphas all over this defense, man. It's just not one guy, just not another guy. It's everybody on this defense being an alpha. And Derek steps up for us big time every single time he steps on the field.
There you go. And the only reason I'm bringing up Derek Barnett is because we talk about a lot of levels of this organization. We talk about the drafting. We beat the shit out of Nick Caserio not being able to draft and evaluate offensive linemen. But when you see a guy like a Derek Barnett who is on the back end of his career and he finds a place where he's able to hang around, make some bread for a few years, and have an impact on one of the best defenses in the league and one of the best defenses in franchise history, and you see what the young guys say about him and you see what the coaches say about him, I think it's something that you got to bring up every once in a while, and you got to showcase. So salute to the grumpy old man, Derek Barnett. He's not grumpy. He's actually pretty nice. He's just a quiet guy. But salute to him, man. He deserves his credit, and I think the impact is great. And I just go back to that Tennessee game with Case Keenum where Derek Barnett was doing his thing, and then you wonder, is he going to be back? He's back another year. Is he going to be back? He's back another year. And then all of a sudden he's getting 2 sacks in playoff clinching games, and you hardly hear about it. Back-to-back plays, 2 sacks. So salute to the old man in the room, younger than me, but his body's probably about 15, 20 years older than mine with what he puts himself through. But salute to Derek Barnett for doing what he does under the radar and just strictly on actions. You heard Will Anderson talk about alphas. We can't talk about alphas without talking about
Hey, bro, Alpha Aaron here.
the alpha, Aaron Wilson. This is how Aaron started out his New Year's. Aaron Wilson. He CJ Stroud goes to the podium. Aaron had to wish him a happy new year. Now, I was just smiling because the two lovely ladies next to me were laughing. I was just smiling because when someone laughs, it's kind of contagious. I think CJ wanted to laugh, but he's one of those guys who likes to play it up, and he was kind of throwing us under the bus and then kind of playing around. Here's alpha activities with Alpha Aaron. This is how he did it on New Year's. By the way, can you wish someone a happy new year before the new year actually hits? I'm asking for a friend. Can you actually do that? It doesn't matter because Alpha Aaron did anyways. Here you go.
Hey, bro. Alpha Aaron here.
Happy New Year, and can you look back at the year, the season so far?
Why y'all laughing at him? Y'all are mean.
Come on, man. You wish him a happy new year. CJ, and then CJ said happy new year. A little bit funny. But shout out to the Alpha Aaron activities continuing. Just doing all kinds of crazy stuff. By the way, 38. Some people, I just assume y'all know 38. Tomorrow, SNL, we're going to get to know Kayvon Wallace. It'll be interesting to see how he handles his encore. Was it just a one-time thing? Is he going to be able to keep that type of juice? Kayvon Wallace with SNL tomorrow. We will drop that exclusive over the weekend. We got to get to know this guy. I've heard good things. I've heard great things about his personality. I've heard great things about his path. The guy's been on 7 teams. Like, look at this. I always get pretty fascinated by guys' paths. Like when it comes to, and obviously Wikipedia lays it out the best. But the Laken Tomlinson, how he started all those games, yet everyone thought he sucked. Rightfully so. But you look at this Kayvon Wallace, how many teams he's been on. It's just kind of crazy. So he's a 4th round pick out of Clemson, Philadelphia, Arizona, Tennessee, Seattle, New York, Vikings, Texans. This is his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th team, 3rd team this year. This is his 7th team and his 3rd team this year. Like, you got to stay ready. I mean, he was in Philadelphia for 3 years. This seventh squad. And I mean, this guy defines journeyman. I'm not even saying that disrespectfully. This guy defines journeyman. And I'm one of the best defenses in the league with depleted safety and Miles Bryant kind of being exposed the week before as a guy who we already know is not supposed to be a starting safety. He can do it in emergency situations, but we know that. This sumbitch is sticking out like a sore thumb out there. Nasty as hell, too. I mean, he looked like he belonged. A lot of fans get into like that extra stuff afterwards, getting pumped and stuff. 38 was wired up. He was wired the hell up. So I said, man, can SNL talk to Kayvon Wallace, please? They said yes. So we'll talk to him tomorrow and see what this guy's about. And we'll see Sunday what he's about and if he's going to make an impact or not, because they damn sure need him. They need that type of presence at that position. That position's been beat to crap. And you saw last year what it looked like with when one of your secondary positions gets depleted. Now, it was the Petrie role, but you had Jimmy Ward last year, who's been elite in the nickel as well. So you thought you had decent nickel depth. Both those guys go down. Big problem against Kansas City. And I don't know about y'all, but I was watching Miles Bryant against the Raiders, and I was like, man, are they going to have a weak spot? Kind of similar to how they did without the Petrie role. And 38, one game in, kind of gives you a little something to look at. And we'll see what happens with Jalen Reed if they're able to figure something out there. But that was a hell of a job. We're talking about Derek Barnett, the other version, this year's version, Kayvon Wallace. Got to give him some credit for sure. No doubt about it. Frank Ross. I was a little bit curious about Frank Ross. You always see him on the sidelines and he's always looking over to D'Amico and he's like, this much, like whenever there's a spot, he's running up to the punt and he's like directing traffic and all that. And I know Frank Ross is giddy. He's a giddy guy. But I always want, like, is that a role that you have? Like, are you in charge of situational stuff? Like, what's going on here? I asked him about it. We'll hear what he had to say. Also asked him if he could sit still and watch football. We'll hear what he had to say. But first, I got to ask this question. In the spirit of Alpha Aaron asking or saying Happy New Year the day of, which I think might be okay. This is a question I have. How late is too late to say Happy New Year? And if y'all been listening to this guy at all, John McClain will wish you a Happy New Year at least 42 days into the year. He will be wishing you a Happy New Year in February. He's going to be joining us at Spanky's, not tomorrow, but the week after. Guarantee he's going to wish everyone a Happy New Year. Promise. That's a lock. 100% lock. Kind of like Georgia was tonight. This is more of a lock than that. But how late is too late to say Happy New Year? Because John McClain definitely does it. It's kind of like the Christmas decoration debate. Let's hear from Frank Ross. This is me asking Frank Ross about what the hell he's doing out there. Here's what he had to say about his theatrics on the sidelines.
What is your role in game outside of the obvious? Because we see you a lot, whether it's the spot helping his spots or after they're short of first down, you're like giving the distance. Like, what is that, like an assigned role? Is that just extra stuff? Because we see you a lot up there. It seems like you're almost like
I can't hide my nose. I know. I know. I've never missed a spot in my life. I'm always 100% accurate, so I can help the officials whenever they need. I try to make sure I'm on it. Yeah. So if you don't know this, the two judges on each sideline, they have extreme looking Apple watches, and that's the chip in the ball will read one of them. So before the mechanics of it, like if you ever umpired a baseball game and you're solo, you don't have maybe you just have a first base umpire. So ball's hit, it's going down the third base line. You put your belt buckle right on the foul stripe to see whether it's foul or fair. So mechanics of the referee on a punt, that's what I'm thinking you're referring to. If a punt goes out of bounds, that was shanked out of bounds, where did it cross? And the back judge, the white hat, would say, all right, come on, official, keep coming. I think I saw it go out here. Whatever their mechanics are, I can't speak exactly to that, but a variation of that. Now it's the chip in the ball. So I'm looking, and I'm trying to sneak and read his screen. It was the 47-yard line, but they were marking it on the other 47. It was out on the Texans plus the Chargers 47-yard line. So I was just helping them out. Yeah. Say it one more time.
Like, some players say, man, I can't really watch football because my mindset's just such to where I can't sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Can you?
I've got a couple nephews that play ball. My godson's in Ohio. Man, I stream their games, and I think that I've got no need to chill because I've got the best seat in the house every Sunday with the Texans, So whoever can come back as an NFL coach in their second life, like, do it, man. It's the greatest seat in the world, so I love it. And there's no need to. It's, I just enjoy what I do. Watching games at home is tough. I don't want to watch any this year. I want to be in them.
Yeah, he's in the zone. He's definitely in the zone. He's definitely wired up. It's a wild vibe with Frank Ross. It always seems like special teams coaches are a little bit nutty, though, doesn't it? A little bit crazy. They got a little bit crazy to him, and Frank Ross definitely displays that. There's no doubt about that when it comes to what Frank Ross does, how he acts, all that type of stuff. It's interesting, and special teams have definitely picked up since. So it's on to week 18 against the Indianapolis Colts. If you look at, this is kind of a mix of D'Amico Ryan's, his week 18s. You had the winner go home game in 2023. They got flexed to Saturday night. And then last year, pretty much had the division wrapped up. And now it's kind of a little bit of mix of both, but I'm sure that they'll be scoreboard watching in some way, shape, or form. I don't think D'Amico Ryans is necessarily hiding from that. I don't think he's bidding that out like some coaches would. So that's where we're at, week 18. Can't wait to get on to the playoffs. Again, the sleeper pick, tail and pops. Nico Collins, touchdown. CJ Stroud, higher than 33.5. Riley Leonard, an interception, and the rushing yards. So there you go. Send that screenshot to hmasleeperpicks@gmail.com. If you haven't played, go ahead and get that 100% match. Put $5 in, get 10. use that promo code Locker and then tail that. And quite frankly, you might win money right there because Pops has been kind of killing it with the daily fantasy stuff, to say the least. He's been dominant. So appreciate y'all for rolling through. Nick Caley, do you believe in changing? Do you believe in Frank Ross? And do you believe that adversity comes in the form of an 0-3 start? Who knows? Practice tomorrow at 10. We'll be there. We'll be at Spanky's after. We'll give you the updates. We'll catch up with Kayvon Wallace, and we hope to hang out with you. We're a few days away from clarity on what the playoff picture will be, but there is plenty to talk about. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Bye-bye.
Every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up, we number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too.